Hello, everybody. I see a bunch more people joining right now, but can we start off with anyone confirming that you can hear me and that my mic is working?
I can hear you, Abby.
Awesome, thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you guys so much. I'm going to jump right into it. This meeting is being recorded, so if anyone joins late, they can circle back if they feel like they've missed anything, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Well, first, I'll introduce myself in case we have anyone new. My name is Abby Sherrier. I'm the Senior Director of Youth Programs at the AYCC. I oversee the American Heritage Tour as well as several other departments. I've been doing the program for a fair amount of time now, and I'm very excited to be doing the program again this year with you all. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we can get into the gritty details. So again, I just introduced myself. I'll have this information at the end of the slideshow as well. The best way to get a hold of me is always via email. Second best is give my office phone a call and leave me a voicemail if you don't catch me in person. But I strongly suggest right up until the trip emails the best way. I'll try and get back to everyone as quickly as I can, always. As we go through the slideshow, if everyone can make sure that you are keeping yourselves muted on the mic. You can put any questions in the chat. We have Lisa Plord with us tonight. She's gonna be our kind of chat monitor and she'll answer questions as we go. She's done the trip more times than I have, and we'll get right into it. So tonight we're going to talk about background checks for chaperones, trip apparel, luggage, some expectations for behavior on the trip for both chaperones and students. And then we're going to go through our day one itinerary. So 7-day trip. We'll go over just day one tonight. And then we'll talk about the Facebook group really quickly at the end. So background checks, I wanted to put this on everyone's radar because everyone who has registered as a chaperone, you're going to be getting an email from me next week with background checks that have to be completed to be able to go on the trip. So there's two different forms. They have to be completed. I do have a way for them to be completed fully electronically this year, so you shouldn't have to print and scan or anything like that. Should be super easy to get back to me, but this is a requirement. It's just to make sure that everyone is safe to be traveling with a group of students. It's pretty standard. Unfortunately, if you are a teacher or if you've had a recent background check, I cannot just take that one. I have to do my own and run them new. So I appreciate when people always offer and have some cost savings in mind, but you just complete this, you give it to us, we pay for the background checks. Be on the lookout for that email. If you have not registered as a chaperone yet and you're kind of on the fence, moving forward, I'll be following up with chaperones as they register to make sure that you get those forms and get those back to me because we want to make sure that these are done well in advance for the trip so it's not something we're worrying about last minute. So I wanted to also bring up trip apparel and luggage during this meeting because the next time we meet will be after Thanksgiving, and I'm thinking maybe some people will be doing some Black Friday or Cyber Monday or small business shopping. So I just wanted to make it super clear right now that you are totally welcome to buy your own apparel to wear on the trip as far as tops. So, whoops, sorry. Um, on our trip, all of the adults, like in this photo, wear red and all of the students wear blue. Everyone gets 2 t-shirts and a jacket for the trip, but if you want to have a fresh t-shirt for every day or want a warmer jacket or anything, your outer layer has to be the correct color, and you are more than welcome to get the correct color. That's not our branded stuff. So you can see in this photo, we have a bunch of people wearing their Heritage Tour shirts, and then we have one friend wearing a blue Under Armour shirt. It's the right color blue. It matches. You are all set to do that. So as you're shopping, if you see that and you want to go ahead and make those purchases, go for it. This is something that we do because it's a piece of safety for us. So wearing the colors means that we can identify our group and our participants at a distance. So say we're waiting for the bus is ready to leave and we're looking around to see, is someone on their way? How far away could they be? We can see several blocks away usually if we have a group of participants working towards us. But it's also so you guys can be helpful for each other and help keep each other's kids safe. We have a lot of different communities that come together for the trip, and you're not going to know everyone who is on your bus, who's in the group. But when you're walking around, you're going to be able to see who's with the group because they're going to be wearing the shirts, they're going to be wearing the jackets, they're going to be wearing the colors. So if you see a student who looks like they need help, you could be helpful. If you see a chaperone who looks like they could use some assistance, maybe you could be helpful, or maybe someone can give you some assistance. So it's really just a super simple safety thing that we do. We've done it forever. I just found photos from, I believe it was 1982 the other day, and they were wearing the matching shirts and the colors. The colors have changed a little bit over the years, but way back in the 80s, it was red and blue. So it works. There's a reason we do it. We have a method to our madness. This is an important thing. I'm sure we'll talk about it again as we get closer as a reminder, but just in case you want to do some shopping, I figured I'd bring it up now. The other thing that I wanted to bring up now on the same lines of, in case you want to do Black Friday shopping or Cyber Monday shopping, people always ask about what size luggage can I bring and how much luggage can I bring per person. So this is kind of our guide. Again, something we'll bring up again closer to the trip, but I just wanted to touch on it quickly and show you and put it in this recording in case people had questions. Each individual is more than welcome to have a backpack and then like a crossbody bag or a purse or anything like that that they can keep with them on the bus all day long. And then per person, you can have one big luggage. Some people like the rolly luggage. I highly recommend the rolly luggage. Or you can have a big duffel per person. Some people can get away with sharing one really big luggage. Some people do two separate smaller ones. Accommodate for if you plan to do some shopping. If I didn't shop on the trip, personally, I could probably bring luggage that was a lot smaller, but I like to do some damage in New York City. So it's really just up to you. But again, if you're in the market for maybe a new rolling suitcase or a new backpack or something like that, and you may be shopping around in the next few weeks before our next meeting, this is the guide to use to make sure you get something that's appropriate, because we do have to fit everyone's luggage under each bus, which is quite the Tetris game, as I'm sure you can imagine. So speaking of buses, I did want to talk quickly about some bus expectations, but I want to start with clarifying chaperone groups. If you reviewed the last meeting, which hopefully you did, you'll already know this, but to just quickly touch on it, a chaperone group is a small group. So it's either the one chaperone and their 3 students, the one chaperone and their 2 students. Maybe there's a chaperone group where it's 2 chaperones and 2 students, but your chaperone group is usually a group of 3 or 4, and that could be a combination of any of the things that we just talked about. So when I talk about a chaperone group, I'm really just referring to that group of 3 or 4 where there's usually 1, sometimes 2 adults responsible for anywhere from 2 to 3 students in between them all. So the way we do bus assignments is by chaperone group, and I usually make those bus assignments by the group, and then what schools everyone goes to try and keep people together, and then what communities. And we usually have a little bit of flexibility so I can move people around if needed. I send that out in advance. Everyone gets to look at it in advance. You know exactly what bus you're going on to in advance. But it's crucial to know that if you are chaperoning your student and their friend and their other friend, so it's you and 3 students, you guys are all going to be on the bus together. And when you're on the bus as chaperones, you're responsible for keeping an eye on your students and making sure they're kind of following our bus guidelines throughout the trip. The way we do each day is the seat you pick in the morning is yours for the day. That way, if you leave a pillow on there, if you leave a blanket on there, maybe you leave your water bottle, something like that, you can leave it in your seat, and we're not playing seat Tetris and, you know, mixing everything up and people ending up with their wrong stuff as we're getting on and off the bus. There are several instances on the trip where we're getting off and on the bus really quickly, so we'll actually have you line up by back of the bus to the front of the bus so we can go super fast, and that only works if everyone knows where they're sitting. So the seat you pick in the morning is the seat you have for the day. We ask the chaperones to spread out throughout the bus so that you can see your students and help just make sure that they have what they need and that they're following our bus guidelines. No one gets on our buses until the bus leaders are there. Every bus will have a bus leader. One bus will be myself, one bus will be Lisa, who's on this call, and one bus will be Pat Kearns, who is our camps director who helps me with the trips and comes on the trips. He may be on this call as well. So we spread ourselves out before anyone gets on the bus in the morning. At any stop, the bus leader has to be there first. And that's just to make sure that if you're leaving anything of importance to you on the bus, no one's getting on and off other than the bus drivers without the bus leaders knowing it. So that's just kind of the way it works. Every once in a while, there's a fluke kind of exception to the rule. If someone forgot something, they're trying to catch up to the bus, whatever it may be. But this is the rule of thumb always. No one gets on the bus until the bus leader says it's okay. Everyone is responsible for keeping their own area clean on the bus. We are on this bus a lot for 7 days. It is very, very busy. If we keep this bus clean, it's a really pleasant experience. If we don't keep this bus clean, it's not very much fun. We're going to talk about kind of chores and those assignments in the next slide, but everyone's responsible for keeping their own bus clean. Just because you are not assigned to be one of the bus cleaners at the end of the night doesn't mean you get to leave your area trashed. So this is a rule of thumb. It is important because it does make the whole experience a lot more positive. And it's very respectful to our bus drivers who work really hard to keep us on time and keep us safe all week long. When bus leaders or tour guides are talking, especially using the mic on the bus, everyone needs to give them their undivided attention. So that doesn't mean that just chaperones are taking their headphones out and listening. It means everyone is taking their headphones out and listening. Everyone is awake. Everyone's eyes are forward. Everyone's paying attention. There's a couple different instances where we get tour guides on our bus with us. So we want to make sure we're listening to all the things they have to say. And then when your bus leaders are up there, it's usually to give you really important information about when we're going to meet, where we're going to meet, how things are going to work. And it's not just the chaperone's job to hear all of that, it's the students too. Everyone should be working together to make sure the trip is super positive. The last keynote for buses is the bathroom is for emergencies. Again, we're on the bus a lot. And fun fact about bus bathrooms, that there are only so many places you can empty bus bathrooms. So whatever comes on the bus and stays on the bus on day 1 is probably going to be with us around day 3 until they get the opportunity to clean the bus out of all of that stuff. So bathroom is there absolutely for emergencies, but we make a lot of bathroom breaks for people to use the restroom otherwise. The only other thing that I will note is our buses are full. Occasionally we'll have a few open seats, but you're most likely going to be sitting with someone else. We do save a couple seats at the front of the bus, one for snacks and then one for if anyone gets bus sick or is feeling ill on the trip. So we keep 1 or 2 sets of seats open in that instance, but otherwise our buses will be pretty full. So when you think about what you're bringing with you on the bus, you have to assume that the space you're going to have is your seat, and then we have a little bit of overhead storage on the bus above your seat if needed. The buses do have outlets to charge your stuff. The buses do have TVs and DVD players, so we usually have some movies going. And occasionally the buses, well, I should say always the buses have Wi-Fi. Very rarely is it good Wi-Fi. So if you're going to be streaming anything or doing anything like that, it's probably going to be on your own data. So I alluded to chores. There are 3 things that are important that we have to do on the bus, on each bus, and that's loading luggage, unloading luggage, and sweeping out the bus at the end of the night, or just kind of tidying up the bus at the end of the night, picking up trash and stuff. Each bus will have a chore chart. Everyone gets an equal amount of these chores. So usually, because our buses are pretty full, it's, you know, your whole chaperone group will have 1 night of cleaning the bus and maybe 1 time you load the luggage. It's not a huge lift because we spread it out. Many hands make light work, but it does make everything be a little bit more efficient and keeps us running as like kind of an organized machine for the whole week. Supervision expectations. To ensure everyone is safe, these are the things that we really ask people to focus on. It's everything summarized in one, but it covers everything that needs to be covered. At least 1 chaperone needs to be with the students when we are in public or in the common spaces of the hotel, including the hallway. And so I guess I'm going to take that back. At least one chaperone is with the students whenever we are in public or in the hotel. So I clarify because we should not be leaving students alone in the hotel room, and we shouldn't be letting students go alone down to the front desk or walking in the hallway from one room to another. Um, we have to be really, really conscientious of everyone's safety. And if you sent a student down to get a towel from the front desk and all of a sudden the fire alarm went off, what are we going to do? And what does that look like? Or if you thought that your student was in one person's room and then you go to get them at the end of the night and they are not there, what are we going to do? So the hotel is something that every year we have to give reminders that students and chaperones have to be together in the hotel. But it is really, really important. And the more obvious one is whenever we're in public. So as soon as we get off the bus and we're walking around in the cities or in the museums or at the exhibits or whatever it may be, students and their chaperone groups need to stay together. And it is just as much the students' responsibility to stay with the chaperones as it is the chaperones' responsibility to keep track of their students. So students cannot just get off the bus at Mount Vernon and take off running to go see the goats, and all of a sudden they're 300 yards away from their chaperone doing who knows what. Probably not doing anything that crazy, but they still need to be with a chaperone. Same with chaperones. Something that comes up a lot is if we have a mom that's chaperoning, her son and her son's two friends, they're all boys, and mom has to go use the restroom. I'm not saying that mom needs to tell those boys to come into the restroom with her, but I am saying that she should say, hey, my other parent friend, or hey, Lisa, hey, Abby, can you just stand here with my boys really quick? I'm going to use the restroom. I'll be right out. Absolutely. That's totally appropriate. That's the right thing to do in that situation. And same with sending the boys into the bathroom. Say, okay, you three are going into the bathroom. I'm going to stand right here. I'm going to wait for you to come out. And that's what you do. So there's obviously some exceptions to the rule, but we really have to make sure we're keeping track of everyone. I would hate for anything to ever happen on a trip where a student interacted with someone they shouldn't interact with, or ended up in a situation that gave them a negative experience on the trip because they've either decided to leave their chaperone and go on their own little adventure, or because the chaperone wasn't paying attention and didn't realize they didn't get on the elevator or didn't anything. There's a million scenarios. So it is important. So students are responsible for staying with their chaperones. Chaperones are responsible for keeping track of their students. And bus leaders, us, are responsible for keeping track of all of you. So every single time we get on the bus, we will do attendance. We'll make sure that everyone who's supposed to be on the bus is there. And when we're out and about, if we see a student without their chaperone, if we see a chaperone without their student, if we see someone who's taken off their jacket, so now they're just wearing a green t-shirt and they could be anyone off the street, we're going to give some friendly reminders. And it's not because we want to nag anyone, it's because we really want everyone to be safe. And it's fairly straightforward. It seems silly, but then all of a sudden you're in Times Square and you can see where your kids are because they're wearing their blue shirts 10 feet away and they're where they need to be. So it's just super important. I know I'm harping on it, but cannot stress it enough. So day one's a really simple day. It is a long day. It's our travel day. So what we do on this trip is we drive on day one from Waterville to essentially Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we will meet at the Alphon Youth and Community Center in Waterville at 4:45. We'll do a little bit of organizing. We'll do some bus loading, some luggage loading, all of that kind of stuff. We'll make sure everyone's there. And then we are leaving the AYCC at 5:15 in the morning. On our way down, we make stops in Kennebunk to use restrooms and to grab a quick bite to eat if you need it. We also stop in Charlton to use the restroom and grab a quick bite if you need it. And then we do an extended lunch stop at the Darrenbury Mall. So we give you just enough time to go in, grab some food from the food court. There's even a couple sit-down restaurants. If you really wanted to squeeze that in, you could. When we leave there, we stop in Cranbury, New Jersey for a rest stop, and then we get to our hotel, which is where we do dinner. So it's a long day, and in my next slide, you can see just how long it is. So way up here, 126 North Street is the AYCC. That's where we leave at 5:15 in the morning. We stop in Kennebunk, and then we stop at the Charlton Plaza, and then we stop at the Danbury Fair Mall, and then we stop in Newark, and then we stop at the Molly Pitcher rest stop, and then we finally get to the hotel. When we get to the hotel, we're only staying in that hotel one night. On the whole trip, we stay in 3 different hotels. This is our only one-night hotel. So this is a quick one. It's not the world's biggest hotel, but it's nice, and it's really close to where we're kicking off day 2, which is in Philadelphia. We're like 20 minutes outside, so it's pretty convenient. And I want to show you super quick. When we stop for lunch, we have a couple of these stops where we utilize malls and their food courts. So the Danbury Mall, we stop. This lunch is not included in your fee, so this is a lunch that you would be paying for on your own, but there's a really wide selection. And I'm only sharing this to show that even at a mall that, compared to some of the other places we go to, is fairly small, there's a lot of different places to eat at a lot of different price points. So there's certainly something for everyone. There's more than enough time to get what you need, and there's a lot of options. So next steps, if you have not registered, your next step is definitely to register. All of the registration deadlines are posted on our website, which is clubaycc/American Heritage Tour. And if you have registered, I know it seems like April's a million months away, but it's not. It'll be here before we know it. So start talking to your chaperone group and deciding what you want to do with your free time. When I send out background checks next week, I will also send out a very, very rough draft of our itinerary for April, so you can start getting a gist for timing. The timing is not exact yet because we're still waiting on some confirmations to come through for booking. A lot of the stuff we do, you can only book like 4 or 5 months in advance. So those are starting to trickle in, and I'll update those as we go. But I want to give you guys an opportunity to start thinking about what you're going to do in your free time. We do something every single day as a group, but then almost every single day, you also get free time to go and explore what you want in those locations. And the more planning you can do for the free time that you get in each area, the more value you will get out of your trip. The groups who seem to always have the most fun, be the most successful, really feel like they have fulfilled all of their kind of goals for the trip are the people who plan ahead for a couple options in each city, have an idea of some backup options in case something doesn't go well. That way, when they get off the bus, they know where they're headed, they know what they're doing, and if they decide that they're doing the Air and Space Museum, but then they get there and they fly through it in an hour. They're not sitting and twiddling their thumbs saying, oh gosh, what are we going to do now? They have kind of a backup option, say, you know what, we're just going to go over here, we're going to go do this. So you don't necessarily have to have it planned down to the minute, but you should kind of have your little list for each city, for each day that we're there when you have your free time of what is really important for you to see and what some other options are that would be a bonus if you get the time. Everyone should be joining our Facebook group. That's where I post about the meetings. That's where I post some meeting recordings and the notes. And then our next meeting is going to be December 3rd, and it will also be virtual. So this was a speedy meeting tonight. The last thing that I want to share is what the itinerary looks like. It has some of our notes on the side. We group think a lot of our itinerary, but just so you have an idea of what you're going to be receiving this is the itinerary. This is what everyone will have on the bus, on their phone. This is what will work all the way through. It's very, very detailed, as you can see. I hope this doesn't overwhelm anyone. But most of the timing is just about as accurate as it can get at this time. Again, we'll have a couple little things finalized. I'm working on what I hope will be a really awesome hotel upgrade for us this year for our DC hotel. So those details, once they're finalized, will give me what I need to be able to tweak a couple things. But for the most part, this is accurate enough where you can start planning that free time that is so important. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask now if anyone has any questions. You can either put the questions in the chat, or if you want to just come off your mic or turn your camera on, you can ask me away. If you don't have any questions, we're all set. Again, this meeting recording will go up. It was a quick meeting tonight. I hope I gave you at least, 36 meetings, or 36 minutes back in your day. So if you don't have any questions, you can hop off. But if you do have any questions, put them in the chat, or come online and ask away.